Jake and Fulton coming to you on a sad Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We are back, Fulton back from vacation. And it is a Monday, and we start off with mandatory minicamp coming up tomorrow. We'll get to some Chiefs talk. We will play a little hypothetical game when it comes to the college world. If you were in charge of a Pac-12 institution, what would you do? We'll actually break it down, some numbers coming up. We've got a little recap of the weekend over and proper reaction. All of that to get to on this edition of Mic'd Up. As always, Jake and Fulton along with Fulton Caster. Fulton, welcome back.
It's partly good to be back.
We got a lot to discuss.
The good part is I'm happy to be back doing this show with you, Jake. The bad part is part of what we got to talk about today.
But also the good part is you had a good time fishing.
Oh, I had a great vacation.
Had a good vacation.
To haters and doubters who said I can't fish, that's 15 fish in 3 days. So, you know, where the sun don't shine.
Like I said, Pixar didn't happen.
I sent you evidence.
You sent me evidence of like a 2-inch long bluegill.
He was like a 4-inch long bluegill. I sent you evidence of the first bluegill I caught was the first thing I caught on my first day there. Then I sent you evidence of the first crappie I grabbed. I wasn't going to send you evidence of everything I caught. That was going to get ridiculous.
2 fish, that's all you got. No, I'm just messing with you, folks. I'm just messing with you. So we got plenty to get to. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Hit us up on our YouTube page. Very simple, very easy. Go to youtube.com/@sportson580. Check us out on our website, 580www.com. And there's no way to sugarcoat this, but Fulton, on Friday, you were gone. I brought this up. I said, is this rock bottom? Ken Swanson, good friend, KC Sports Network. We were tweeting back and forth on Friday morning, and he asked me, is this rock bottom? And I said, there is no rock bottom for the Royals because Buddy Bell.
So Buddy Bell taught us it can always get worse.
I never say it can't get worse. And so we talked about that, on the grand scheme of things. And folks, since Friday, it has gotten worse. The Royals got swept over the weekend, in which they were not competitive in pretty much any single game. In fact, the Royals have not been competitive basically all last week. They've lost now 6 in a row. There's that 5-game losing streak. That's one, Fulton. We got another one at least coming along the way. I am so interested to know an odds makers coming up next on tomorrow. The Royals were outscored 41-14 in 6 games. And are you ready for this? Fulton's nightmare has officially come to fruition. They are the worst team in baseball right now. Mm-hmm. And they are the worst team in baseball for a couple reasons. And that includes the Oakland A's, because the Oakland A's have now won 5 in a row.
Good for them.
The Royals haven't won even 3 in a row.
Nope. Only team left in Major League Baseball to get 3 in a row.
The A's are 1 win behind the Royals. The Royals have 18. The A's have 17. But we also know that the A's aren't even trying to win. They're not trying to win.
They're actively trying to lose.
Legitimately, they are trying to go all major league and try to move the team to Vegas. The Royals are trying to win. Now, here's the thing. I also pointed this out on Thursday of last week. I'm like, what has really gone wrong for the Royals?
Everything.
I named 17 things that have gone wrong for the Royals.
You didn't name more.
There were 6 that have gone right.
I'm surprised you found 6.
There are 6. Oh, Nick Prado, he has gone right. Mm-hmm. Salvador Perez has gone right. Manny Pasquantino has gone right.
Yeah.
Signing Aroldis Chapman has gone right.
Yeah.
So that's just 4 right off the rip.
Yeah, I feel you.
And so, but 17 things have gone wrong. And a lot of people right now with the Royals, with what they're doing, it's the worst start in Royals baseball history. And they're on pace for 117 losses.
Yeah.
They don't have a single top 100 prospect according to Baseball America. This is supposed to be the core, the second core. You had Moose, you had Hosmer, you had Salvador Perez, you had that core, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first wave, and it got you what you wanted. 2 World Series appearances and a title. This is the second wave. The Singers, the Lynches, the Bubiches, the Melendez, the Bobby Witts, the Prados, and I'm probably, forgetting a couple others. Like this is the second wave. And right now the second wave is not working. And it's not going well. And I see a lot of, people in the media, saying, burn it all down and restart everything. You ready for this? Nobody cares. You ready for this? Nobody cares. Okay. Fulton, you are an outlier. All right. I am now to the point where I don't even care. I don't even care. Okay. Wins and losses to me, that's not rock bottom. Rock bottom is when nobody cares.
Rock bottom's apathy.
Nobody, and I'm going to explain to you why. Okay. This weekend, I went to my 20-year high school reunion. Okay. And I was around a couple of my friends the day before, and out and about and talking to some people. And I did this with, when I went golfing with a couple other people. I said, I talk about the Royals. You ready for this? Right now. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I said, oh, what do you think about the Royals? Well, I don't know. They suck. I'm not even. I said, can you name some guys? They could name 2 Royals. They could name 2. 2 Royals, okay? Major League Baseball knows they got you, Fulton. They do. You're a diehard. Diehards are not around as much anymore. The amount of people right now who live in this area who are sports fans, like my friends, right? Who I grew up playing football with. I played college football with. They're sports people. They don't care. They don't. It's not on in the background. They don't search it out. They're so bad and have been so bad for so long that nobody cares. This isn't English Premier League. This isn't like you are, the Queen's Park Rangers, or you're someone who is in the championship and just you're not diehards where they live and breathe with everything, and that's the majority of people. Like this is where this is not just the rock bottom right now. This has led up to this. And there are a lot of factors in all of this right now. And this is a 5-year point of it. But the majority of just the generic person living in either Topeka or Western Kansas or Central Kansas, it's not even an issue in their life. Like that, they don't look at box scores. They don't look at who's pitching. Like they go to the Royals games. Because it's like, oh, hey, going to the ballpark is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who are doing that
is dwindling.
Like, that's the thing here. Rock bottom, don't talk to me about baseball top 100s. Don't talk to me about record. Don't talk to me about win.
Come to you for rock bottom when there's just not a fan base anymore.
And that's where we're at right now.
And here's what I want to say to that. I don't think you are necessarily wrong. I want to preface with that. I over these past, like, the Royals just lost 6 games in a row. I watched half these games. I did not watch. I watched, I think, 4 innings of the Marlins series, because I had better things to do and it was spend time with people I enjoy. I'm not going to subject myself to the Royals on vacation. Not going to do that to myself. But and then I watched the Orioles series, which was just, Friday was the only day I could be like, all right, there's something I can take from this. Saturday and Sunday, there was nothing. It was horrible. I wouldn't say the Royals have hit full apathy yet. I think for certain sects, yeah. I think in the mind of hyper casuals, yeah. But the reality of that situation is hyper casuals aren't apathetic; they're just casuals. And that term I'm using here is there is just a group of fans in every sport that if your team is good, they'll kind of know what's going on. And if they're middle of the road, they do not tune in. And those people are the ones who can name you like 2 Royals, because they're not going to care unless the Royals are winning 95 games. And even then, they could then name you 5. They're never someone I'm going to call more than a casual. Even if they're like, Royals just won 95 games and I went to, all 81 home games. Cool. You're still a casual because you could probably name me 5 people and you're just going because they're hot right now. I'm not trying to shame people for that, but that's just what you are. Apathy full on for me has to extend into every sphere of engagement. I said this yesterday after the Royals lost. I basically just removed myself from the internet for a little while because the discourse is frustrating. And to me, that's a sign of that it's not full apathy yet. The amount of people who want to burn J.J. Picollo and Matt Quatraro at the stake tells me it's not full apathy yet. It's not great. And I'm not trying to say this in a way that to make anything better. It's still like, we all know where I stand on the Royals and my ability to find optimism with this team. They are dog crap garbage and the worst team in baseball. Like, what I watched was a team that it was pathetic. The only word to use is pathetic. And do I think I still hold a weird belief that they can get better at some point? Because I think there are pieces that can get better. But this current collection is there's just a lot of bad baseball players. And what baseball players aren't bad are young. And young guys go through slumps. Like, I think Bobby Witt Jr. still, the flashes I see, is a guy who could be a superstar. The problem is he's taken a step back this year, and I don't know when that full step forward is going to come. Vinny Pasquantino, I think, is going to be a really good hitter. He's hurt right now and was in the middle of a slump when he got hurt.
Yep.
I don't know how bad that shoulder is going to be. I don't know if MJ is going to be a core to this team. If you want anything out of him, he's got to play better. Drew Waters, I think, could be the center fielder of the future for this team. He ain't playing well. Like,
there's only 2 guys playing well right now. That's it.
Every young dude outside of Nick Pratto, which is a revelation, and half of Michael Garcia, because he's up and down at the plate. But did you know, by defensive metrics, a majority of them, Michael Garcia is the best defender in baseball right now?
Which is good, but...
That's why I call it half of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's great. That is a really good thing for even trade possibilities. But his bat's not been... It's been more consistent than other guys. It's been more consistent than some other dudes. But, like, not... And so I don't think we're at full apathy yet. But we're skimming rock bottom. Because you have a lot of people that don't want to care to engage. And 90% of your engagement right now is them wanting to burn every piece of this franchise at the stake. And that's not where you want to be.
And for the people who are unhappy with JJ Picollo, to me, it's not JJ Picollo that they're unhappy with. They are unhappy that the Royals didn't truly start fresh. And I understand that.
I get it.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's really like this, but when the Chiefs hired Romeo Crennel as their defensive coordinator, it was a new guy, but or as their head coach, he was their DC.
Yeah, it was an internal elevation.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah, I get you.
And that's the reason why. And John Sherman, I really do hope, had a pulse on this, that he had to know if you hired JJ Picollo to be your GM,
you better hope it works.
And you kept Lonnie Goldberg as your director of scouting.
Yep.
That people, and we're talking the casual fan here,
are going to be upset.
Are going to say these words. If it doesn't work out, then we really didn't make a change. That was, I hope, a risk that John Sherman knew, because when you bring in somebody like a secondhand man, great instance, the Wichita State Shockers brought in their assistant coach when Greg Marshall left, Isaac Brown, right? Good guy, knows the game, just didn't work. You had to know, instead of bringing something completely new and completely fresh, even though sometimes that does work. It does. Mike Boynton at Oklahoma State was the assistant coach. That's kind of worked at Oklahoma.
It goes back and forth.
But that, to me, right now, that is the reason why people are calling for JJ Piccolo's job, is because they've known that name. He's been in the organization, and it's feeling like nothing has really changed, even though Dayton Moore was gone. And we both agree, JJ does things different than Dayton.
100%.
Because a lot of the decisions that have been made already are not similar to what Dayton Moore would do.
Correct.
They are different people. Unfortunately, that in this situation is not good enough at this point.
For me, and this is where I go on all the people that call for JJ's job and things like this, I'm not ready to make my final determination on JJ one side fence to the other. I lean towards better because there are things they've done that are just things they didn't do in the past. And the more and more we hear, the more and more the way that, Dayton was kind of forcing his hand on so many things. But I just circle back to this, and I don't want anybody to think I'm making excuses for all the losing or saying it's not okay to be upset with a team that's on pace for 117 losses. You have full right to be upset. It's not fun. It stinks. It sucks. It's brutal. Like this game losing streak was hurting, and it's not fun. But I just go to this. I mean, they kind of told you straight up this was not going to be like we talked about this before. They told you this year was not going to be about winning. They were fairly as honest as they could. They were as honest as they could be in the proper context of you can't come out and say we don't care about winning. You can't say it. They towed up to the line, and then eventually JJ came out and said it. We played the clip.
He told
he eventually said it word for word, and so. My larger point goes to what is JJ specifically supposed to do with the team of Dayton Moore's players and John Sherman's pocketbook?
Well,
and there are things he could do.
Yes.
He could spend the money more wisely.
Yes.
He could have never signed Jordan Lyles.
Correct.
He could have honestly never. Ryan Yarborough's kind of an thing at this point. That's a jury's out. And that's correct. And I will agree with hand in hand. The Jordan Lyles signing was stupid, awful. I said it at the time, and I'm being proven right. I don't like them being proven right, but I'm being proven right. That's true. Maybe there's some other shrewd moves he could have made for trade pieces. He could have. But we're starting to nickel and dime halfway into a first real season. Like, there are things to be critical about when it comes to the running of this organization, and I want to make that abundantly clear. There are things to be critical about with JJ Piccolo. There's things to be critical about with Matt Quatrero, and there's for damn sure things to be critical about with John Sherman. We're halfway into this. I said this yesterday. I'm just kind of spewing my thoughts to the ether. What they do in the draft and the deadline is your next indicator. If they draft differently than they had before, because some people were mad at the Gavin Cross pick. It was their first round pick last year. It's been all but confirmed that was a Dayton Moore pick. Other guys wanted other dudes. Dayton Moore, because of connection, because of the intangibles and the personality of the guy, was like, nope, I want him. And it's gone up and down. For me, that's a really nitty thing to get into, and I don't expect everybody else to get into the draft, things like that. But what do they do there? And more importantly, give JJ the deadline. Give JJ the trade deadline. Well, because if they make a bunch of moves that we want them to do and they are transactional, it might not result in more wins immediately. But JJ being transactional would speak volumes to being a different person.
It's the situation that JJ was put in. If it didn't work, then people were going to assume that
they're going to riot.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed from Dayton Moore to JJ.
And unfortunately, it 100% has not worked.
It has not worked. And that's the situation where this wasn't, and this is where John Sherman had it. This wasn't a total reset. It wasn't. This wasn't hiring Andy Reid.
Nope.
And Andy Reid basically got to choose his GM and John Dorsey done everything. No. Because if that were different, then we wouldn't be talking about this situation. This is a brand new GM, brand new scouting department, brand new everything. We are tearing it down to the studs. They didn't do that. They didn't. John Sherman didn't do
And now
that.
they have to live with the consequences.
Because now that decision by John Sherman hiring J.J. Picollo opens the door to how long do you give J.J. Picollo? Because if this was a brand new...
It's a lot longer leash when it's brand new.
You got 3 years minimum.
Yep.
Minimum.
It's a lot different now.
Coming up next, we will recap the weekend with the weekend's takeaways and fails. Weekend's takeaways and fails for this last 48 hours. The fails are the Royals. That's not obvious, but I'm going to go with Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor drains a 72-foot bomb. That what Nick Taylor did this weekend is what everybody dreams growing up. You have a 72-foot putt to win your country's golf tournament.
Yeah.
The RBC is Canada's lone big one. You know, that's the monster one.
And I've been a Canadian to win it in a long time.
And Nick Taylor from
just
Canada
drains it.
Drained
that baby from Saskatchewan.
That was awesome. That was really, really cool. We'll get to K-State and their big weekend with Jerome Tang signing another transfer. The fail is the Miami Heat. Not because they're about ready to lose the NBA Finals. It's because anytime that you interlock with Conor McGregor, bad things happen. And he punched out a mascot. And I feel bad for the mascot, but not really, because you
willingly are a part of this.
You went with Conor McGregor.
With the bit.
He always does something that's bad and terrible, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Vacation rocks. That's my only takeaway.
That is true. Vacation is good. That and golfing and fishing and not working. Coming up, we're going to talk with Matt Derrick a day earlier. The reason being, mandatory minicamp starts tomorrow, so we'll hear from some Chiefs players. We'll hear from Matt Derrick coming up next. Kansas City about 24 hours earlier than normal due to the Chiefs mandatory minicamp coming up tomorrow. And the reason why is at this time, practice will be going on right now. And so we bring in Matt Derrick on a Monday. Matt, is Mondays different for you than Tuesdays in Matt Derrick's world?
Not. I mean, during the season it is. During the off season, can't really say that there is. I mean, it's pretty much just one day after another during the off season. It just seems like it's just one day you're wasting not watching football, I guess.
Let's go to the final OTAs on Thursday before we get into mandatory minicamp. What did we find out, and what did you see at practice on OTAs week number 3?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much more the same of what we had seen. It was a little bit cooler, a little bit nicer day. They had a few real scorchers there for a while, so I think that was a little bit of a breather. And the last 4, days is when they start to do actual game planning. I mean, they do some scout team looks. So last week they were working on the AFC And they're also working on Detroit. I mean, starting to work towards the regular season. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, what you're doing is obviously just kind of going off of, what talent that they have, what they did last year, what you expect them to do this year. But that was the first time this offseason when they've started to get scout team looks at everything. You can see what maybe some other clubs are going to try and do. But other than that, I mean, I think it's just more par for the course. I mean, this has been to me, fairly clockwork OTA session for the Chiefs.
Andy Reid talked very highly on Derrick Prince. I think he's on this team. I really do. I think they're going to go with hey, Pacheco is going to be our number one running back, so he's not going to return kicks. I don't think they want to put Tony back there a whole lot because he's going to be their number one or number two wide receiver. So we got to put somebody else back there. And it sounds like Prince might be that guy. I know things can fluctuate and I know things can change, but it sure feels like they're going to keep 4 running backs and he's going to be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the old cliche, you wait until the pads come on. I mean, that is the only test left really for Derrick Prince to pass. I mean, we'll see what happens when they do start hitting. I don't think he's going to go anywhere, though. I don't think he's going to disappear. Let's see if he's still catching the football like he is, because that's the one thing that has been impressing everybody in this camp has just been how well he's been able to hold on to the football, catch the football, move around. I mean, from people I'm hearing, they feel like he's already as a pass catcher surpassed Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, they feel like he's that good already. And it surprised them. I mean, they weren't really sure, what he was going to be because he didn't get thrown the football a ton at Tulsa. But he has had surprising hands and consistently across the board. Anybody you talk to on the coaching staff in the front office, I mean, they'll tell you that this guy has been, I mean, they thought they had something, but he has exceeded even their expectations across the board.
It's almost to the point now, to me, I think Prince is going to make the roster as of now. And if that's the case, I think the whole entire offense is set. They keep 25 guys on offense, 25 on defense. Now they can do 26 and 24, if you will. So maybe you can move it around. But boy, it sure feels like they're keeping, the 2-3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, the 4 tight ends, the 5 wide or 6 wide receivers, and then the 9 linemen. Like there's not going to be a whole lot of camp battles for roster spots on this team, in my opinion.
No, there's really not. I mean, I think that you're probably even, when you're talking about the 9 offensive linemen, I mean, you might be set as far as 7 or 8 of those. You're probably set with at least 4 receivers. It's going to be a question of how many you keep and the depth there. But running back, quarterback, tight ends, I mean, depth chart's pretty much locked in there. I think you're really only talking about maybe 3-4 positions that might be up in the air. No starting jobs for the most part. I mean, I think those are pretty much locked down. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of, I don't think, excitement as far as just, roster spots go in St. Joe. I mean, I would be very surprised at this point if there's a dark horse that makes the offensive roster. I mean, I think they're just that set, and I think they're that established.
We're talking with Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Derrick. Join us on our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line here on Mic'd Up. And the big news happened. Frank Clark signing with the Denver Broncos. What do you know about this? Did he just go to the team that gave him the most money? Do you think Frank Clark is worth the $5 million contract?
Yeah, it certainly seems like it, that's where he decided to go, was just the best offer. And it became increasingly apparent that was not going to be in Kansas City. Hearing what Frank Clark had to say about it, I mean, you can tell that there was a little bit of, maybe holding out hope, but at the same time, I think all along was going to be about what Frank Clark got offered. I mean, the Chiefs were interested in bringing back Frank Clark at a price. That price was below what Frank Clark wanted to come back for. I mean, as much as he wanted to be in Kansas City, he didn't want to come back as just a bargain discount. And it took a while, but he finally found a deal. I mean, to me, the $5.5 million with a chance to make it $7.5 in Denver, that's a really good deal for him. I did not think that he would get that much of a guarantee. So I think it's a good deal for him. I don't think the Chiefs are missing out. I mean, he's a guy that I think that they would have loved to have had in reserve, that you get some injuries or something, and it's, now July and early August, and you can call it Frank Clark. I think they would have loved that. But at the same time, I mean, you can see where it would be hard to shoehorn Frank Clark in here with the guys that they're happy with right now.
All right. who do they add then? Do you think they need another defensive end?
Yeah, I'm not sold that they do. I mean, it's going to depend on the health. I mean, obviously, and Duque was almost going to make this team. We'll try to go down the list here. I mean, George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu. I mean, those are your top three. Then, hey, I think B.J. Thompson's got a really good chance to make this team. I mean, they really like him. Mike Dana, I'm leaving that poor guy out. And, you're talking about Malik Herring and Joshua Kando competing for jobs. I mean, that's enough right there. I mean, that's too many guys. I mean, one of those guys is not going to make this roster at least. And there might even be a few surprises. I mean, there's going to be a little bit more competition, and I think the defensive line than you expect for jobs in camp.
Do you consider Omenihu a defensive tackle or an edge? What do you think? Because I think that is the distinct factor here when it comes to the Chiefs D line. If you think that Omenihu is a defensive tackle but can play defensive end, or do you think the Chiefs look at it because Chris Jones played a little defensive end last year? They don't really take a peek at positions a whole lot. Just can you play the D line, because they want to move around guys a whole bunch and move them in and out. Dana can play inside. He's not just an outside guy. Do you think they kind of look at them kind of like, the NBA looks at now there's really no positions anymore? Well, there's really no positions on the D line. Can you just flat out play? And if you look at that, then I think they're probably all right at the D line.
To a certain degree, yes. I mean, I think you're probably onto something there a little bit. I mean, even with Omenihu, I do think that they feel that he is a first and second down defensive end, and then maybe he's a guy that you can kick inside on third down. I mean, I think, we've seen the Chiefs increasingly go to it, but I think that we are probably this year going to see them even more so on third down, just putting a ton of pass rushers out there, than maybe 4 defensive ends on the field at times, in third and long situations. So I think we'll see them go a little bit more with that. But I mean, as far as Omenihu, I mean, I do think that they're envisioning him as one of their starting defensive ends opposite Karlaftis, and but I think they also feel like they got a really good rotation here. They don't have to depend on a guy like Omenihu coming in and playing 70% of the snaps. He can play the 50% that he was getting with the 49ers, and and they can spread it around because they got other guys that they like too.
All righty, Chris Jones's contract. Unless they rework his deal, where are they going to have cap space? Because right now they're under $1 million in cap space. They can't do anything right now to the roster, essentially, unless somebody reworks the deal, whether that's Tooney, Mahomes again. It seems like in order for them to do anything the rest of this year, a Chris Jones contract has to be either extended or altered, changed, something. Otherwise, they literally can't do anything else.
Yeah, and for the Chiefs, I mean, they really do feel like it's Chris Jones first and then everything else. I mean, they want to get that done. I mean, it's not ideal, but then again, I mean, over the next month, what do you have to get done? I mean, I think there's only, Sky Moore is the only rookie contract that's left out there. They've got enough room for that because, remember, he's just going to be replacing the number 51 contract. So, they've got room for him. And that's even another interesting situation with the second round draft picks this year and not signing yet. But other than that, I mean, for the next month, do they need to make any additions or signing? No. I mean, I think they're pretty set there. So they are in a situation where they can wait for Chris Jones. It's just that the Chiefs would like to get it done sooner than later. And it's, I think, becoming increasingly apparent that Chris Jones's camp wants to see what Quentin Williams gets done. They want to see his contract extension because that could dramatically alter the market for Chris Jones. I mean, he at least the Jones camp has hinted to us that, hey, he's not looking for Aaron Donald money, but he also wants to be the number 2 to pay the defensive tackle. If Quentin Williams gets $27 million a year, well, I think Chris Jones is going to want 28. So I don't think it's as bad as the Tyreek Hill situation in which, a deal can come out that all of a sudden makes you want to trade Chris Jones. But I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, Chris Jones people want to see what Quentin Williams can get before they sign on the dotted line.
If Quentin Williams doesn't exist, do you think a deal would be done already?
I think it probably would. I mean, it could still go down to mid-July just before everybody gets into camp. But I think that right now, I mean, that seems to be the holdup, that there's just absolutely, no motivation on the Chris Jones camp of things to get things done, whereas the Chiefs would like to. So, yeah, I mean, I think if there weren't a player out there with a contract that could alter the market, then, yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance that Chris would get done sooner than later.
Right now, who is the highest paid defensive tackle not named Aaron Donald?
I knew this off the top of my head last week, but now I'm completely blanking on it because I don't think Hargrave got there. I'm trying to remember.
Is it Jeffrey Simmons? Is it
actually? I think you're right. I think it is Simmons, and it's a pretty big gap. I mean, there's a lot of room to work between number two and between Aaron Donald's ridiculous numbers. So there's a lot of room, but that's the thing. I mean, Quentin Williams could eat that room up in a hurry.
Yeah. So you think he'll get more than Jeffrey Simmons will?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised if at the end of this that Chris Jones, at least on an annual average value, that if he's not the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league, I'd be very surprised. And I would kind of probably wonder what was the wait, because that would be the only reason is, just to figure out what happens with Williams.
Simmons signed a 4-year, $94 million deal, guaranteed $60 million. Because a part of me says, okay, offer that to Chris Jones, or offer 4 years, $100 million and $60 million guaranteed. Let's move on from there. Like, I feel like that's pretty simple.
It would be. I mean, I'm almost, she's been some pretty creative. So I would just wonder if they couldn't put some escalators in there or something that could adjust it. But because their concern, I think, would be, hey, well, what if Quentin Williams signs for 104?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris is going to want more than that, and that's a lot more than Jeffrey Simmons is making.
Yeah, I am now on the tune of they have to do something with Chris Jones, and they have to extend because they have no other options. I looked at the Tooney contract. You really can't do anything else with Joe Tooney. He's basically a Chief for 2 more years after this year, to be honest with you. When you look at his contract. So a part of me just, they already did the restructure of the Mahomes deal. So it's kind of, yeah, I think Chris Jones is going to be a Chief, and it's just going to end up being the amount of money.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, there's every indication is that the Chiefs are willing to make him the second highest paid defensive tackle. There's no doubt about that. But, you look at the deals that are out there, and there's just a wide gap between what that means between number 2 and Aaron Donald. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I wonder why they just can't get it done. I mean, I know it's not been an issue on the Chiefs side. I mean, they have wanted to try and get this done, but they're dragging their feet on the Jones side, and the only reason you can really point to is Quentin Williams.
PFF came out with their breakout stars, and they have Kadarius Toney as a breakout candidate. Is he really a breakout candidate, or is he just a guy who is going to end up getting a lot more targets this year than he ever has before?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think that it's probably more of the latter, because I was trying to crunch numbers this morning on, what do I think is capable for Kadarius Toney in this offense, in a full season when, he's getting the full playbook now and everything. And there's no doubt. I mean, if last couple of weeks have been any indication, I mean, the Chiefs are going to and feature Kadarius Toney be a big part of this. But I just think of it comparing the Tyreek Hill, where is he kind of at in the Tyreek Hill development stage? I think he's probably in between, at least year 1 and year 2. So, hey, if you put it over and under for me of Kadarius Toney at, say, 750, that'd be a tricky number. I mean, I don't think he's just all of a sudden a 1,000-yard receiver, but if he, at the same time, if he also had, say, 56 catches for 650 yards, that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, I think there's a pretty wide range of outcomes, but I'm just not sold that in this offense right now, and with his development pace, I just don't know if he's that receiver yet. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's got talent. That's why he's been so tantalizing. But is he all of a sudden with Mahomes going to be a 1,000-yard receiver? I'm not sure I can make that case yet.
Somebody's got to get those yards and targets, though, right? I mean, that's how I kind of look at it last year. Who's going to replace Tyreek Hill? Well, the majority of those targets went to Juju. He had close to 1,000 yards. Somebody's got to get all these targets. Somebody's got to get the yards because Mahomes is still going to throw for 5,400 yards again this upcoming year, barring he stays healthy. Travis Kelce will account for 1,000 of them. All right. So now where else are the 4,400 yards going to go? Like somebody's going to end up on that side of it. Or are we going to be talking about the very first season in NFL history with 6 guys with 500 yards?
Well, like you said, I mean, Mahomes is going to go over 5,000, say 5,400. Well, probably 2,000 of that might come easily from your tight ends and your running backs. So now you're spreading out 3,400 over 6 or 7 receivers. You might catch some passes, maybe some more. I mean, that's like starting to come out to like 600 yards a guy. Yeah, hey, there could, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, could this be a team that's going to have 3 800-yard receivers and then a couple of more guys that are maybe like 400? Yeah, I mean, I could see something like that because I think that this is a very balanced group. I mean, I don't know how top heavy it is. And the separation between 4, 5, and 6, I don't think is going to be that deep. It's just going to be a matter of who gets the reps. I mean, if it turns into Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling all take 70% of the snaps or more, then yeah, I mean, one of those guys is bound to probably get to 1,000 yards. But I just don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Alrighty, what should we be, and what are you looking forward to with mandatory minicamp? Are you allowed to watch any part of mandatory minicamp?
We do get to watch mandatory minicamp, and at least by seeing 3 practices in a row, which for the first time off season, we get to notice little trends, some rotations that might not be obvious when you're only seeing 1 practice a week. Mm-hmm. So even though the Chiefs have some squirrely rules about what we can report and tell you and everything, you can at least pick up some clues, and we can drop some hints from time to time about what we're seeing out there. So those rotations are the big thing. I really like to see for this time of year, and obviously then we'll see who's out there. During the OTAs are voluntary, so guys don't have to be there, and the Chiefs obviously rest guys who are recovering and doing some things. So the other thing is just going to be see who is out there and who's out there for all 3 days.
Alrighty, I don't want you to spill the beans. Number 1 rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Number 2 rule is you don't talk about Fight Club. So what are the rules? What can you and cannot do?
Technically, the Chiefs and the Pro Football Writers of America would tell you that the Chiefs are a little bit overly enforcing on this. But one of the rules is basically that you can't talk about depth charts. That's the big thing. So you can't report who's running with the ones or anything like that. But you can ask questions about that. So you'll often hear us in the press conferences saying, "Hey, saw Jawan Taylor lined up right tackle 1. What's going on there?" We try to get things like that on the record. You can talk about highlights and special play or highlights and big plays. You can't talk about special plays or formations or anything like that. So that's why, this time of year, we don't get too much into, how much 3 tight end sets or nickel and dime looks that you're getting.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, 2 for the road. Last 2 questions I've got for you in this one. What will be the toughest division in the NFL?
Ooh, really, really good question. Even though I don't want to say it, I think it's probably I'm gonna say AFC East. I don't want to say it, but I think it is. I think that will be the one that'll be the most challenging.
Alrighty, and lastly, will Travis Kelce throw a strike today, throwing out the first pitch at the K?
Boy, I hope so, because there is no doubt to the end of grief that man has taken. And I hear he's been practicing. So, boy, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to get that done tonight.
Matt, as always, we appreciate the time. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy mandatory minicamp.
Always a blast, Jake. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Matt Derrick, ChiefsDigest.com on our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. Fulton, it's bad when more people care about whether or not the star tight end is going to throw a strike on the opening pitch than the actual game. Because more people have been talking about that than the actual Royals baseball team. Also, that just goes to show you the power of one Travis Kelce.
I mean, that's more what it says than anything else. Like to me, the fact that it's been kind of built up a little bit, made a bit of a bit, tells you more about Travis Kelce than anything else. Like, that's what it tells you. It tells you there's some proper marketing going on.
Hey, we gotta talk about something.
Part of it also is, yes, the Royals suck.
Coming up, Matt LaMar of Royals Review will join us to talk a little Royals baseball. Number 2 of Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday. Jake, LaMar, Fulton Caster with you. Lot to get to in this 1 o'clock hour. Everyone loves the list. Today, our list, worst ceremonial first pitches. Travis Kelce's getting a redo because he sucked something awful, terrible up there in Cleveland.
It was really funny.
Real bad. And so the Royals need to bring in fans because they're terrible. And they thought, hey, everybody loves the Chiefs. How about we bring in more Chiefs?
Not the worst idea
Not
ever.
a bad marketing plan. So fun fact, coming up next homestand, there's going to be another Chiefs Day at the K. They'll bring somebody else out there so we can bring in KC Wolf, do something to bring people to the K. So we will get to our list of worst first pitches. A lot more to get to on this edition of Mic'd Up. As always, hit us up on our text line 785-272-9429. But right now, we're going to talk all things Royals baseball. We are going to head to the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. We bring in Matt LaMar, deputy manager of the Royals Review. And Matt, I'm going to ask you this. Is this rock bottom in terms of the Royals? What say you?
Well, there's that famous quote from Buddy Bell, which is "Never say it can't get worse." So theoretically, it could get worse. Realistically, though, I mean, this kind of feels like a little bit of a rock bottom situation. I don't think that the Royals are going to be at like a 115, 120 loss team, which is, I think they're on pace for about 117, if I remember correctly. I don't think they're that bad. So if they're not that bad, right, they're going to play better than that.
Lost Matt. So we'll try to get Matt back on the air from our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. So we'll get Matt back on. Covers the Royals for Royals Review. Check out Royals Review, part of SB Nation. At LaMar_Matt is his Twitter handle. You can check him out. The Royals in action today. Fun fact, we talk about, it's the Royals start a homestand today against the Cincinnati Reds. 3 games against the Reds coming up. Off day on Thursday, and then 3 games against the Angels coming up as well. So that is what is going to be happening for the Kansas City Royals. You do get to watch maybe the most exciting guy in baseball right now for the Cincinnati Reds, and the Cincinnati Reds are actually a winning franchise right now when it comes to Major League Baseball. So that is what is going to be happening the next 3 days with the Royals going up against the Reds. Hopefully they can end their 6-game losing streak, but 7:10 first pitch. We're back to the 7:10 first pitches, which I'm not a fan of. Bring them back to the 6:40 first pitch. Not a fan of the 7:10 first pitch after being able to watch the 6:40 first pitches. So, Matt, glad you're back on. And so my next question I got to ask you is this. What is the bigger issue? The guys right now at the big league level not hitting, or there is literally nobody in the minor league system that is considered a really, really top end talent?
I think that's it. The hitters are going to take their lumps, right? They're going to take their lumps. They're not going to be, super great. All, from the start. That happens sometimes, right? But the bigger issue with this system, I think, is what we're seeing right now is that the Royals under Dayton Moore had been doing a lot of things wrong, right? And you fire Dayton Moore. It's an improvement, right? The Royals are on a new path. Baseball teams there's a lot of inertia there. And, it takes a long time to change course. It's like, a baseball team's like a really big cruise ship. You can't just expect it to turn on a dime. So what we're seeing is the ramifications of the Royals making the same mistakes that got Dayton Moore fired in the first place. Those mistakes are going to continue unless they change course. And that's no fun here, right? Because it means that the Royals are probably going to continue being bad for a while. That's where we are, right? Lots of bad decisions add up. You can't just turn it on a dime. It's not like, being of the Chiefs, you can't just draft a quarterback, and then your entire franchise, futures turn around. It's not like the NBA where you can just draft a LeBron or, a Jokic kind of player and like suddenly become good. Baseball doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't, so that's just something that we all have to deal with.
So a lot of people are upset, rightfully so, at the Royals. A lot of people that I know just don't even care anymore, which is even worse. But when it comes to this, do you buy into the, hey, you know what, burn it all down, give JJ Piccolo another year? How do you assess what would you do if you were in charge?
Yeah, I think that the Royals probably should be a little bit more aggressive from trading players. I wrote the other week, I said the Royals really are not at the end of a rebuild. They're at the beginning of a rebuild. And again, this is not something that you want to hear. All the Royals' top prospects came up and they really haven't done anything. And, that's not on the young players, position players so much. That's on Brady Singer, Daniel Lynch, Chris Pubich, Jackson Cowart. They haven't been what the Royals needed them to be. And that's a big reason why they're in this position. I think, you have to think if you're, John Sherman and you're firing your general manager and you decrease payroll, that your expectations are a little better or a little, more, how do I put this? You expect them to be bad, right? If you're John Sherman, if you're JJ Piccolo, you expect them to be bad. I think the only thing that this maybe changes is wow, we have started to change course, but we really need to double and triple down on some things that we thought were okay, maybe, but we need to change. So I do wonder if this means that the Royals might end up with some new front office talent. I think JJ stays, right? I think that John Sherman picked him for a reason, but I think that, this might have been a little bit of a trial year for some other guys in the front office and the coaching staff up and down the organization, right? Like, let's see if we can turn this around. And we're starting to get some evidence that, maybe the Royals need to make more changes, or at the very least, I would expect them to bring in some new front office talent. It's very unusual for the Royals to lose the amount of games that they did, to promote from within, and to not go out and get some, exterior front office talent. They got some coaching talent, but they didn't get any new front office, minds. They didn't pick someone from San Diego or Los Angeles or, the Rays to be in the front office. I suspect that will probably change a little bit. I don't know if anybody loses their job this year during the season, but in the offseason, they have to.
Matt LaMar is our guest, the deputy manager for Royals Review. You can follow Matt on Twitter at @LaMar_Matt. Going to kind of the on the field product, but a mixture of on the field and off the field here, Matt. There was a lot of movement with the Omaha Storm Chasers this morning. 5 different players have now been added to the Omaha Storm Chasers lineup. I'm not the only one who's theorized this. People a lot smarter than me theorized it before me. This feels like a big league roster move or two could come to maybe shake things up in the midst of this 6-game losing streak. Just kind of looking at it from a bird's eye view and for what you could theorize for us. What do you think the Royals might do or even should do at the big league level with such this all of a sudden influx of players going into Omaha today?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty smart move, right? The Royals, I think, believe in their direction, right? If you believe in your direction and you're not going to make any big changes like the Matt Quatraro, I don't think they're going to cut ties with him this early, right? What are the types of things that you can do to really put a charge into the team? And I think that bringing up AAA players, the number of AAA players to the big leagues, could be a way to do that. Think about this the last year, right, when the Royals were in Toronto in sort of the infamous COVID series where they had so many young players. That series felt totally different, and it didn't really matter that the Royals weren't super successful in that series. The whole vibe of the team just changed completely. And so I wonder if the Royals aren't trying for that again this year. And by this year, I mean today. As for who we could see up, they've got a number of names who are performing pretty well. Samad Taylor has been performing very well. They got him in the, I believe it was the Merrifield trade last year with the Blue Jays. And I would not put it past them to bring up either Darren Blanco, who has been very good defensively, center fielder, in place of Jackie Bradley Jr., or maybe even Tyler Gentry, who has, until this year, kind of been following the Vinny Pasquantino path of hitting really well in the minors. He's hit a little bit of a snag in Omaha, but not a whole, huge snag. I think, the Royals probably see him as somebody who could be part of their future, right? So those are 3 names that are certainly in play. And then there's also, a bunch of pitchers who could be up and down as well. So, but as far as position players, those are the 3 to watch out for. And who knows, maybe as I'm talking, the Royals will release, the big league ramifications of all those minor league moves.
The only what I would call positive on the field thing you could take away from the 6-game losing streak, which is just a horrendous, road trip out to Miami and in Baltimore. Daniel Lynch had a quality start against the Orioles, and overall, at least when I watched him pitch, looked pretty well in that start. Just maybe a couple of mistakes, but overall pitched fairly well. What would you have made of Daniel Lynch's start? And just has he shown at least you anything thus far that makes you think he could actually be maybe a piece to a somewhat competitive big league rotation for the Royals, hopefully in the not too distant future?
Yeah, I think Daniel Lynch is the best starter among all of the Royals, young pitching they drafted in 2018. He's got basically the 3 things that not all the other starters have, which is he's got a pretty good fastball, he's got a good breaking ball, and he's got a good changeup. That's, for instance, not really something that Brady Singer has exhibited, right? He's got the fastball, he's got the breaking pitch, not the changeup. Daniel Lynch reminds me a lot of Danny Duffy, actually, in that their early career struggles were, couldn't get through starts. They'd show promise, but they couldn't show consistency. I think Lynch could be a really, really solid starter. And I think that the Royals coaching is better and more advanced and more sort of in line with how most big league clubhouses operate in 2023 than it was last year. And I think we're seeing that a little bit. He's been being, if you look at his ERA, it's not great, but also the team has made a lot of defensive miscues, to put it kindly, behind him. So Lynch has looked pretty good. That sort of tracks with what I think his talent level is, which is the highest of that group. So it would not surprise me at all for Lynch to become a good starter, especially, as he's further and further away from his injury.
We're talking with Matt LaMar, covers the Kansas City Royals for Royals Review. Give me the biggest positive right now for this Kansas City Royals team. We've talked a lot about the negatives, and I listed honestly 17 of them on Thursday's show. There are some positives. What is the number one overall positive thing for the Royals right now?
I think it's probably Nick Pratto. Nick Pratto in the minor leagues hasn't always had the best track record. He struck out a lot, right? But he has walked a lot as well. And what has been nice to see him in the big leagues is his approach is seemingly a little bit different. I looked it up the other day. Nick Pratto, as of when I looked this up, maybe a week ago, maybe a couple of days ago, he had the third highest line drive rate in all of baseball with the amount of plate appearances that he's had. And so you look at his batting average and you think, oh, maybe that's a little high, maybe that's not so totally sustainable. It's not like he's getting just ground balls that are just finding their way. He's hitting a lot of fine drives. He's putting a lot of good swings on the ball. I think in a different ballpark, he would have more home runs than he does right now. Kauffman Stadium is notoriously hard to hit home runs in. So Nick Pratto has been a nice surprise in a way that pretty much everybody else, to talk about your 17 bad things that are going on with the Royals, pretty much everyone across the board is worse than last year. MJ, Bobby Witt, Benny, all these guys, even Edward Olivares, Drew Waters, all of these position players that the Royals need to be good have declined, except for Nick Pratto. And I think it's not a huge improvement, but it's a good improvement. And he's been a productive hitter. And I also like that the coaching staff has been creative enough to put him at the top of the lineup. I think that's a pretty good spot for him. And to recognize that and kind of, think of it as an outside the box, top of the lineup move. He's a guy who can get on base. And I think that is obviously what you want from the top of the lineup, but you don't always see first baseman, number one hitter, right? So also good on the coaching staff for sort of recognizing what's going on and shifting their strategy to take advantage of what is going well.
We have a fun little segment every Tuesday we call Odds Makers. So you can just give me a percentage on what you think this will happen. What are the odds that you give the Royals that they will lose 100 games right now? On June 12th, what's the percentage that they lose 100 games?
75%.
75%. Okay. We're keeping a line graph on all of that to see where we started, in April. I believe, Fulton, you had it at 4% at the start of the year.
Yeah, my first one was 5%. I will say, Matt, you've now set the new high watermark at 75%.
Now, granted, he's the first person that we've talked to post 6-game losing streak.
That is also accurate.
So, yes. But Matt, already last two for the road, final two questions I've got for you, and we'll let you go. If you were the GM, which of the players on this Royals team would you trade that you would try to make a move to get something in return with?
Well, I'll go beyond the obvious in Aroldis Chapman and Scott Barlow. I think those are
those don't count.
Right. I think I think after that, actually, the next player I would trade is Nicky Lopez. I think Nicky Lopez could be a really nice complementary piece to a playoff team, right? He's a guy who can steal bases, plays good defense at 3 positions. He can get on base. He has a 330 on base percentage over the last couple of years. I think that's I don't necessarily think a lot of Royals fans think of him as like a trade piece, but I think he wouldn't bring up back a huge amount, but I think that contenders would trade for him. So I think that should be next up. I think you could really easily get a good trade with
Alrighty. Lastly, if you could pick the location of the Royals' new stadium, where's it going?
You know, assuming that they're not going to stay at Kauffman Stadium, I think I like the idea of a downtown stadium. I really do. What I don't like is the idea of taxpayers paying for it, which is another thing. But I think, you know, the spot downtown East Village makes the most sense. There's just a lot of, if you've been there, there's just a lot of parking lots. There's a lot of space for it. They wouldn't really have to, you know, displace businesses very much. So I think that's probably the best space for it. Again, I like the idea of a downtown stadium. You know, if you've been to multiple downtown stadiums, you know, it's more fun than, you know, going to, you know, look at the Denny's across the highway for 9 innings and then not be able to get to the Dennings within a 30-minute walk because of just how it's situated. So I think, you know, downtown stadium's good. Paying for that stadium, that's where we, you know, get to some issues, but, you know, it kind of is what it is in today's world.
Matt, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Keep up the good work at Royals Review. Thank you so much. And let's just hope that the Royals win 1 of 3 against Cincinnati.
That would be great. Thank you.
That is Matt LaMar from Royals Review on our Fleming Place Wine and Spirits phone line. Coming up next, worst first pitches. Travis Kelce tries to avenge his previous one. We'll get to that next. Today, our list topic, worst first pitches. All right.
Simple.
Travis
Easy.
Kelce's under a lot of pressure.
He is.
I guarantee he's going to be more nervous doing this first pitch than anything football related. Guaranteed.
100%. Without a shadow of a doubt. Agreed.
Yeah, he's rolling with it. So, worst first pitches. What do you got?
Number 4 for me, Carly Rae Jepsen. Just a very nice girl. Spiked that baby right into the grass.
All right. I didn't put anybody on here who to me doesn't have like I'm not surprised at that.
So you made things harder on athletes because they should know how to do it. That's fair.
Yes, like Carly Rae Jepsen, like the ballerina who threw the ball underhanded and like rolled. I'm not gonna put it on her.
No,
I can't
if you
put it on
spike
there.
it that bad, I'm still gonna make a point.
No, I
That's why
can't.
she's fourth.
I can't do that.
I
To
know,
Carly
that's
Rae.
fine.
You know,
That's fine.
I can't do that to her.
That's fine.
Number 4 for me, Carl Lewis. Oh my gosh, that was terrible.
Yeah, that was bad.
Real bad. Real bad.
Number 3 for me, John Wall. He spiked that puppy.
Yeah, mine's number 3 as well.
John Wall was bad.
Yes, number 3, John Wall.
Number 2, I love him to death. This is so bad. Snoop Dogg. He airmailed that baby high and right.
I normally I think the people who spike it are worse than the airmailing.
See, I think airmailing is worse than
Really?
spiking. You got to give it a chance to get to the plate.
Really?
So if you spike it, you got a chance for it to get there. You airmail you hurt people less with spikes than airmails. You airmail that, you might hurt somebody.
Number 2 for me, Conor McGregor. He almost threw that into the dugout. That was real
Airmailed
bad.
it, caused a problem.
Real bad.
Number 1 for me was a no-brainer though. It's 50 Cent.
He spiked it and threw it wide.
That thing was so bad.
It was really bad.
He looked like he had never thrown before.
It was really
Funniest
really
thing ever.
Yes, I will agree with you on that one. 50 Cent, not real bad.
Worst first pitch ever.
Travis Kelce's isn't good though. I think
it's
about
bad.
40 feet.
It's really bad.
So he's under some pressure coming up tonight. More people are going to watch the ceremonial first pitch than the actual game. Then they're gonna, or they won't. They'll just watch it.
It's Zach Greinke day. You can maybe get something fun.
That is true. Greinke pitching is always fun. Coming up next, we'll talk a little college hoops and the NBA Finals here on Mic'd Up. Exciting stuff. Royals versus the Reds.
Got a former Royal in town tonight.
Matt Strom.
No, he doesn't even play for Cincinnati.
No.
He plays for Philly. No.
Who's the Royal that plays for?
If you get this,
Reds?
I will be thoroughly impressed without looking it up.
Oh, I won't look. I don't care.
I don't
even
even
look it up.
I'm just.
Yeah.
I will be thoroughly impressed.
Fun fact: seeing Brett Eibner, that was fun when he played for the A's. Ryan O'Hearn, Royal Killer. That's just salt in the wound right there. He went 3 for 3 with a dinger.
Ryan Hearn had 7 plate appearances against the Royals in that final 2 games of the series. He reached base all 7 times.
Ready? The Royals need to sing this lyric of a current pop song. You ready?
Okay.
Talk about Brett Eibner killing it for the
You
A's.
mean Brent Rooker?
The Brett Rooker?
Yeah. I mean, Brett Eibner eventually play for the A's.
Yeah.
But Brett Eibner has been in baseball for a hot minute.
I combined those two guys.
And for what it's worth, Brett Rooker also has turned back into a pumpkin.
Okay, he's not any good.
He had one good April and then became Brent Rooker again.
Okay. You got Ryan O'Hearn. You know, everybody flashes a little bit there.
Yeah.
The Royals, ready?
Yeah.
And it's gonna anger so many people on our text line because
no.
You ready?
Oh, buddy. You can't do it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
All right.
I'm going to.
Fire away.
Ready?
Yeah.
The Royals just need to with all these other players out there thriving and doing well. You ready? Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Nice.
At baseball time. Yeah. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah. No.
And I'm gonna. Who is?
That's Taylor Swift. No, the person playing tonight.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver is the starting pitcher for the Reds tonight.
What you should have done is you should have made up a name, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like,
yeah, it's more fun when it's an actual guy that barely played at all. But yeah,
so he played on the Royals.
Yeah, Luke Weaver
with the Royals.
Yeah, Luke Weaver.
Like as a Royal. If I look up his baseball
last year.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
The Emmanuel Rivera trade.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
Wow,
don't
buddy.
Even remember that.
Yeah, it was a dark time. He's not good. He isn't doing good this year either. That one is not the Royals. That's the player. No, overall, I mean, we know the Royals have a player development problem that they're getting better at. I will not believe Ryan O'Hearn is good though, because he has played. And do you know that even through all that, he still has less plate appearances this year than Hunter Dozier? That's the definition of a small sample size alert.
Yeah. Still, it's hilarious.
Oh, it's bafflingly annoying.
Hilarious,
oh, it's frustrating.
It's
Brother, let me tell you, it's annoying.
Hey, when was okay? Speaking of the Reds, real quick.
Yeah.
De La Cruz. Right?
Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz is awesome.
Yeah.
Can you watch him play baseball tonight? I'm so excited about that.
How come the Royals? Like, when was the last time a Royal prospect who was like heavily thought of just opened up gangbusters?
I mean, it's probably been a minute.
Sal? But he wasn't heavily.
No, he was not like a top tier. He was not, the number one. Like the last time the Royals, the thing is, the Royals don't often have the best prospect in baseball. Like, that's what Ellie De La Cruz was.
Yeah.
I mean,
what Bobby Witt?
He was, and then he, is struggling.
Yeah,
like,
not great.
It happens. Like, and for what it's worth, Ellie came out and second game hit a baseball to Mars.
But he's been really good.
He's been playing well, but he's already had some ups and downs. But Ellie has come out hotter than expected. But also, like, I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if it'll make people upset or happy or what. Ellie is a better prospect and possibly a better overall baseball player than Bobby Witt Jr. is. Like, Ellie De La Cruz's overall tools, I think, have a higher ceiling than Bobby. Like, I think Bobby has, if he could truly put it all together, could get close to superstar potential. I think Ellie's superstar status supersedes that.
Okay, what about is Ellie's ceiling higher than Adley Rutschman's?
I think so, by a few different virtues. Ellie has much more power than Adley. Like, Adley's biggest thing is he's got a great eye. Leads the majors and walks. Adley's hit tool is pretty good. His power is and he's a pretty good defensive catcher, but not elite. Ellie is a true 5-tool player.
Okay, all right. So you can watch the Reds. So this is the game that the Royals have the best chance of winning.
Yeah, because you got Zach Greinke. Well, yeah. I will. Hold on, give me 1 second, because I actually might contend with that.
Oh, heck yeah, I'm gonna make money tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make money.
They're not winning tomorrow. Tomorrow's Jordan Lyles.
Yeah,
they're not winning that. I need to check who they're facing in the final game.
Lively. Some cat named Lively.
Yeah. I think, and let me pull Mr. Ben Lively. I think I would call this start probably the best chance because of the pitcher they're facing. The Lynch start's winnable.
So
I mean, Daniel Lynch's 3 starts have been perfectly fine.
So this is the go.
This is the best chance because Ben Lively's better than Luke Weaver. So I mean, you combine the fact you got Greinke going, who outside of kind of been bad lately.
I don't know if I'd want to be Ben Lively. I'd rather be Is Lively.
I'm so done with you right now. I'm no. You don't get to just wash that away. No.
That was a good one.
You do not get to just walk past
that. Was a good one.
No, it wasn't. That was bad. That was horrible. I'm not letting you walk past that. That was a bad joke.
Awesome.
That was a horrible joke.
Because if you've been Lively,
I get it.
You're not Lively anymore. You're not anymore. Fantastic.
Oh my goodness, that was disgusting.
That was fantastic.
That was so bad.
We are going to move.
I want to.
No, that was a good one. I'm proud of that one.
You shouldn't be. You should not be proud of that.
I am. We are going to move to some college hoops. I think you got to start factoring in right now that Jerome Tang has it.
He's got something.
This is the second year in a row now that Jerome Tang is creating a roster that could be very, very competitive. And if you were to set, and this is a credit to what he did last year and now this year, but a summertime signing for the Kansas State Wildcats on the hardwood, Creighton transfer Arthur Kaluma has committed to Kansas State. This is a big pickup. Every college basketball pundit says huge pickup for Jerome Tang. To give you the statistics on Kaluma, 6'7" wing, averaged 12 points and 6 boards last year for Creighton. He was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school. Also has played it on the international stage. And here's the thing about Jerome Tang and what is happening right now. The kids today have a saying where they liken it to vibes, right?
Yeah.
Vibes are good.
Yeah, vibes are good, vibes are bad.
I'm not feeling I'm not vibing with that, right?
Yeah.
Right now, college basketball people are vibing with Jerome Tang. He has got an essence about him. He is fun. He is exciting. He has the vibes right now, and everybody is seeing this. And what do you like to do when you are playing college basketball and you want to transfer somewhere? What do you want?
You want to win and you want to vibe.
And you want to have some good vibes, man. That's what you want. It's just an aura. It's an attitude. It's a situation that this is not just a one-off last year, okay?
Yeah.
You had 2 scholarship guys, and one of those scholarship guys ain't even on your team anymore, okay? Well, technically they both aren't, but he's still playing. Ish Massoud is no longer with Kansas State. So really, from 2 years ago, they have nobody on the team.
Yeah.
In 2 years, nobody is on this team, okay?
Yep.
And they've gotten in the transfer portal. They got Tyler Perry. They've got now Arthur Kaluma. You add in, the Naquan Tomlins of the world. You bring in a pretty good recruiting class. This is the situation with Jerome Tang right now that I don't know if we should just expect this every single year from Jerome Tang that, hey, there's going to be some turnover. There is going to be roster turnover, okay? But this feels different for Kansas State. It feels like last year. It really does, where the energy that they are producing. And this is what Tyler Perry had to say when he came to the Washburn basketball camp for Brett Ballard. This is what Tyler Perry had to say about Jerome Tang. Now listen to this. This is from a transfer. This isn't a guy that Jerome Tang has been recruiting, forever.
Yeah.
He didn't play on his team last year. It's a guy on North Texas's team who ended up choosing to go to Kansas State very early in the process. Here is what Perry had to say.
Tang is everything. Him and his staff, everything that they do, everything they're about. I'm just super excited to be able to be around people like that. And I knew they were going to invest in me as not only as player, but as a person on and off the court. And so when you got somebody like that in your corner, it's easy to choose them.
That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Dude, this is not going to be a one-off. I think Jerome Tang, as long as he's at Kansas State and the staff is still there, that you are going to see this every single offseason. According to the advanced metrics, K-State is now ranked 41st nationally in the look-ahead rankings. They lost their 2 first-team all Big 12 players last year, and right now they'd be going back to the dance, ranked number 41st in the country.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've been more excited to see the improvement from one year to the next than I am for Naquan Tomlin.
Dude, I am right there with you.
6'11", bouncy, long. Can he improve the 3? I don't know. We didn't think that K-State would be as good as they were last year, but you had Keyshawn, or you had Keontae Johnson. I almost said Keyshawn Johnson there. You had Keontae Johnson,
That's a different player.
who was a bona fide dude.
Yeah,
okay. He was that guy. And then Tang got the most out of Marquise Noel. Well, now you add in Tyler Perry. Is he the Keontae Johnson? And now technically he'd be the Marquise Noel. But now you add in a 6'7" wing in Kaluma. Your starting 5 is probably this: Cam Carter, Naquan Tomlin, David Guisan, Perry, and Kaluma. That's probably your starting 5. And you got a lot of guys off the bench. This is it's something exciting and fun. And if you don't think this is a big deal, Kentucky fans are losing their minds right now because Kaluma was scheduled to go to visit Kentucky, and he didn't even get to Kentucky. Kentucky fans are going, I cannot believe K-State owns us right now. Like, that's where we're at right now this offseason. I know KU fans out there right now are going to be all, oh, well, what about KU? To be honest with you, KU should be able to get some of the best transfers out there because, 1, it's KU, and 2, you have Bill Self, okay?
Yeah, just a little different.
Just chill out a little bit when it comes to this because I know some KU people, well, Jake, they're not even ranked in the top 25. I understand that, okay? I do. But you should be good. Now, that's the whole thing about Bill Self, underrated, coach of the year, all that kind of stuff. But anywho, this is great stuff from Jerome Tang. It's really good.
Is. I've loved what Jerome Tang's done with Kansas State. And one of the big, I said it all last year, the biggest key to rebuilding a program, especially in college sports, is you got to get the culture right.
Yep.
Because if you want kids to stay and want them to continuously play and be around for a while, they got to enjoy being there.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerome Tang's made it a fantastic culture at K-State. It's fun. K-State's just fun. They're just a fun basketball team. Jerome Tang's a fun dude. Like, I think Arthur Kaluma is a fantastic grab for them. I'm also can't lie. I'm going to just have nightmare memories every time when he was at Creighton raining a bunch of threes on KU in the NCAA tournament when he shot like 22% for the year.
Yeah,
Arthur Kaluma. And now I have to see him twice, if not 3 times a year. Arthur Kaluma.
Yeah.
Good for you, K-State. I really hate that he's in the Big 12 now.
Vibes are immaculate.
Vibes are immaculate up in Manhattan.
That's what people are saying. So that's really good to see. I like that. That's good stuff. Coming up next, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for one individual.
You just can't hide it?
I just can't hide it. And I won't lose control. I won't. But I am excited for it. And we'll get to that next. this evening, and I'm excited for my friend Dan Lucero.
Yeah.
I'm excited because the Nuggets are going to win their first ever NBA championship tonight. They're going to beat the Heat in basketball and in the weather. They will beat the Heat. And Dan has been an Avs fan before, but the Avs have won a Stanley Cup in his lifetime. So
the second Stanley Cup they won was still nice, but it wasn't the first one.
And the Rockies are basically the Royals. And so
they're a slightly better version of the Royals.
Well, overall in the history, they're the Royals.
They are.
Without
Dan gets my pain.
Yeah. Without 2 good years, the Royals and the Rockies are essentially the same. But those 2 good years count, right?
Yeah, they do.
That's why
they do.
We have those fun memories. Dan's been a lifelong Nuggets fan, and they are probably going to win by double figures again because, like I said this last week, you were not here. Sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot to dissect things. How many threes will the Heat hit tonight? Just give me, what do you think?
We'll go 12.
Then they're losing. There we go. I just told you what's going to end up happening. If they hit 17, they have a chance. Okay. The Nuggets are going to score 105 or more. The Heat have only scored over 100 once. The game that they made 17 threes. So, but what's amazing about this is, and it's not getting talked about enough because he is not a off the screen personality, in your face, in social media. He's just a very down to earth big man. But what you are going to witness tonight is history, folks. History in the NBA. Bill Russell didn't do it. Shaq didn't do it. Kobe didn't do it. LeBron didn't do it. Jordan didn't do it. Hakeem, Duncan, Moses Malone, Magic, Bird. I'm trying to think of other greats. Wilt didn't do it because Wilt hardly ever made the finals. But right now, Nikola Jokic, formerly the dad bod god, who's now just scoring and passing and doing everything. Jokic leads the postseason in total points with 572, total rebounds with 253, and total assists with 186. He leads all the postseason. Okay? No one has ever led in all 3 categories in a single postseason. Now, most of the time, in order to lead all of those, you got to play in the finals, right? Because more games, you get all that. Nobody has more points, more rebounds, or more assists in each individual category than a 7-foot center. And he will. I'm hoping it's the case because you can put this down. This is one of the most underappreciated runs in NBA Finals history. Like a lot of people remember the Dirk run, he put the Mavs on his back. Like, this is better. Yeah. Like, this is better what he's doing.
Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
And so that's really cool. And I'm happy. All I did, I told Dan, my guy, I just don't want you to show up drunk to work tomorrow. You can be hungover because I expect that. But you need to party hard, my friend.
Can't confirm. Jake's only rule is just don't show up drunk tomorrow.
Just don't show up drunk at 12:30. Coming up next, we'll get to a little hypotheticals in the college realignment world. So much for joining us. Mic'd up with Jake and Fulton. Jake LaMar, Fulton Caster with you on a Monday. Royals baseball coming up. 7:10 first pitch, which that just annoys me now. 7:10 first pitch, 6:30 pregame coverage. I know the Royals have done the numbers and all of that as to why they want to keep the games at 7:10. But the 6:40 start times at home for home games have been awesome. I mean, absolutely awesome. I wish that they would go to 6:40 home games the entire year next year.
Yeah. It wouldn't be the worst thing. I'd be cool with it.
Instead of the games getting done at 10:30, games are getting done at 9:30.
Yeah. Because
the game's 30 minutes shorter and the moving up 30 minutes. I haven't really noticed the times for the Royals. Are they still zipping by? I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched a complete Royals game in a long time.
Buddy, let me tell you, you are lucky.
Yeah, no, they're still, man,
they're zipping.
2:36 was yesterday, which is about on average, then 2:51 on Saturday, 2:29, 2:03, 2:14, 2:32, 2:31, 2:55, 2:41. So if you really look at it, it's about average of around 2:30.
Yeah, it's for 2.5 hours. I have found the thing that it takes to make me not watch the Royals, and it's put me on vacation. Those games against Miami were the first time, and I don't know how long, where I did not sit and watch an entire Royals game for 9 innings.
I'm proud of you. And the reason why, because I told you this. I said, Fulton, don't let the Royals affect your off time.
You did say that, and I didn't let them. I knew if they had won or lost.
Good for you.
And that's about it. I had to box score watch it. I could not break down you what happened in those 3 games because I didn't watch them.
You shouldn't have. You didn't even need to. You don't even. Who cares box score? Well, no, because there are certain guys that we do care about.
Yeah, no, and I will say, I think I caught a couple. I think it was the first game on Monday that I caught a couple innings of because we were doing nothing before dinner. And I just sat on the couch and was like, I don't want to physically go do anything. I need to be around here. So I just put it on my iPad and just watched a little. I think the next 2 days, I think actually both those games, I didn't pay attention before dinner started. And then both those nights, immediately after dinner, I went up to the dock to fish. And then just eventually was like, oh, Royals played. I wonder what happened. I checked it. Oh, they lost.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how you should watch the Royals the next couple of days. Today, only watch the Royals when they hit.
Watching Zach Greinke pitch is fun, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter.
I know, but watching Zach Greinke pitch is fun, though.
Tomorrow, do not watch the Royals. Don't even bother. Or if you're going to do that, only watch the Royals when they hit. Because Jordan Lyles is terrible. They're going to lose tomorrow, okay? The next time to watch the Royals, actually, with the man on the mound is the Cincinnati Reds on Wednesday because Lynch is going to play.
Yeah.
So that is an important one to see how Lynch does. But you really don't have to watch the Royals throw a pitch until Thursday or until Wednesday, beg your pardon. Don't bother. Just watch the guys hit.
I'm not going to do that, but that's fair.
I know. You should help your health out. The Royals have made a move.
It's true.
What was your favorite part of the Jackie Bradley Jr. era?
The few cool plays he made in center field.
Yeah, some of them were pretty impressive.
Some were pretty cool. I want to forget every bit of hitting he ever did.
Here's what the Royals, this would have been even more interesting. Ready for this? How many games would you have to play in center field to win the Gold Glove, but also not play the last month of the year? Like, let's say Jackie Bradley Jr. played center field until September 1st, and then that's when the Royals released him. Can you actually win a Gold Glove while not being on a major league team?
I don't know what the rule is for that. I really don't know. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, you're so good defensively, it makes up for your 116 batting average and one extra base hit your entire Royals career. But like arguably right now, Jackie Bradley Jr. would be a finalist for a Gold Glove.
Yeah, he's so good defensively. It's amazing. He just can't hit. I'm just gonna because we're here.
Real quick, but they brought up Darian Blanco.
Yeah, corresponding move. This was something I theorized earlier today. Jackie Bradley Jr. has been DFA'd. Dairon Blanco has been called up.
Had a cup of coffee with the Royals a little ago.
Yeah, he played 5 games last year.
Yeah.
He puts the bat on the ball, and he's really fast. He leads every bit of affiliated baseball. This is minors and majors with 47 stolen bases.
Very Dayton Moore type of guy.
He runs. He plays a mean center field.
He's pretty good at that. Now, the question will be, he's 30 years old, which means he is old.
Yeah, for baseball terms and for what the Royals are trying to do, he is old. I think he might now be among position players, the second oldest position player behind Salvador Perez. And then Matt Duffy doesn't count. So like that's one thing, but I mean, if I have to watch a guy play center field mainly because of his defense, I'd rather be 30-year-old Dairon Blanco, who maybe could be helpful to you, than the corpse of Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah.
I will also say this is just fun for me. Jackie Bradley Jr. is now tied for the lowest career batting average in Royals history by anyone with at least 100 plate appearances, excluding pitchers. Do you know who he's tied with? It's a name you're probably fully forgotten by this point. Chris Owings. Chris Owings and Jackie Bradley Jr. each got over 100 plate appearances as a Royal. They each batted 133.
Chris Owings. And the Royals went out and actually got him to actually start. Not like Jackie Bradley Jr., he was brought in because the Royals had injury problems. Like, he was the best of a bad situation. So, and he played because 2 Royals center fielders got hurt. Drew Waters and Kyle Isbell. This day was coming. Does it really matter? Not really. Blanco's not part of the future.
I will argue this. Depending on when that future comes, Dairon Blanco could be a legitimate, at minimum, 4th outfielder.
Dairon Blanco or Nate Eaton?
Dairon Blanco could fill the Nate Eaton role on a contending team. Like,
okay,
I don't know how much his legs will age in the time. Like, as long as he has decent bat to ball skills and his speed stays, he will always have value. Whether that's at 30 or whether that's at 37. So until I see those traits start to age, there's a room for that.
Okay,
like there's room for that.
Tough.
I don't see him I don't see him on a contending team as your everyday center fielder, everyday outfielder.
Yeah.
But I will say a defensive outfield with Dairon Blanco and Drew Waters makes me very excited. And I'll be honest, the guy you put in center is Dairon Blanco.
I really don't care because,
dude, I gotta find something, man.
Yeah, you're.
I
better
have to
than
find
me.
anything.
You're better than me, man. No, I'm gonna come home tonight, and I will miss the first hour of the game because who cares? And I'm gonna probably play in the sandbox with my son and my daughter. Maybe we'll ride their little scooters, little razor scooters for toddlers. Maybe we'll play with some chalk. That's way better than anything that dumpster of a franchise there 100 miles to the east of us is. So
I'm gonna sit in front of my TV and watch all 9 innings.
You're nuts.
So I got a lot of problems upstairs. We know this.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I want to get to something that it's a hypothetical. All right. We found out kind of on Friday and over the weekend when at least what one president of the Pac-12 institution thinks is the media deal is coming. And fun fact, it's former K-State president Kirk Schultz. He is the president at Washington State.
Wazoo.
He says in his Board of Regents meeting and everything that he thinks the media deal will come through by the end of June. And he was asked on a scale of 1 to 10, when do you think the media deal, the offer at least for the Pac-12 will be by the end of June? And he said at a 7. Okay. Now we've known from the past history of some reporting from Ross Dellinger of the Sports Illustrated that the Pac-12, all of them are in agreement to do a grant of rights if the media deal is good enough. Hey, I don't know if about you, Fulton, but you, me, Dan, and Brendan, we're all in agreement that if someone were to donate $1 million, that we would all, just share 250,000, right?
We split it 4 ways.
Sure, right? Someone donates $1 million to the station and says, Jake, you're in charge of it. That's what we do, right?
Yeah.
Just everybody get, we're all good with that. Wow, really breaking news there. Pac-12 agreement if the deal is good. Now, Washington State's president, Kirk Schultz, said it would be flat. That's what's kind of been rumored. So let's say that. Let's say that the Pac-12 deal for the next 5 years, all right, it's going to be a flat number. It's not going to go up from the current deal. Because remember, the Big 12 has said that they're going to be north of 50 million. North of 50 million. Right now, they're giving out about 42 million. So they're increasing money. Let's say Pac-12 going to give out the same deal, right? You lose UCLA, lose USC. Don't really have a key media distributor in ESPN or Fox. So let's say it stays at 37 million for the Pac-12. That's your deal, 37 million. The Big 12 is going to be handing out 50 million. But the Pac-12 is going to stay stagnant. 37 mil. Let's say that's it. Just a hypothetical. If you're the president of those Pac-12 institutions, are you on board with that? So I'm going to say this. You are Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
You're the president of Colorado. You're the Board of Regents of Colorado.
Very nice university.
Okay.
Yeah.
37 million for the next 5 years. Are you signing that grant of rights?
If I know that I could get more from the Big 12, like if you're talking about the 2 contracts sitting in front of me, classic style, I got one to my left, one to my right. I'm signing the Big 12 one.
Okay.
If I don't know, if I'm still kind of holding out that hope, I probably just take the Pac-12 deal because it's not terrible. It's security, it's stability. But if I'm being offered both and openly offered both, you take the 50.
Now, you don't know what you're going to get from the Big 12 because we don't know the numbers if you do add the 4 add schools. You don't know that.
Yeah, that's true.
We know right now that the Big 12 is going to make 50 million, and hypothetically, let's say it stays stagnant, 37 million for Pac-12. Are you going to ride with the Pac-12? Are you just going to say, "Yep, I'll sign the grant of rights for the next 5 years. We're with the Pac-12." Well, okay, you're Colorado. Let's say you are Washington State. Are you signing it?
If I'm Washington State, I'm signing.
Okay. You're Washington. Are you signing it?
No.
Okay. You're Oregon. Are you signing it?
Nope.
Are you Arizona?
I'm waffling.
Are you Utah?
I'm probably signing.
Okay. That's what they're gonna have to do. Like, that's what I'm gonna guess. It's gonna be around $30 million. Because if it was more than that, I think we would have already had the answer. Truthfully, I think that's what it's going to be. So if you sign that, if you are Colorado, you're like, yeah, 37 million, let's ride with it. In 2 years, you will be $26 million behind the third league in college athletics. Because the Big 12 is going to make 50 million, making 13 million more per year than you are. So in 2 years, a school like BYU and Cincinnati are going to make almost 30 million more over a 2-year span to their budgets than a school like Washington, Oregon, Arizona State. That is, I just want to know what the number The presidents of Pac-12 universities are going to be, yep, we're willing to stick with this for the next 5 years. We're going to do it. And to me, it's not about the next 5 years. It's about 10 years. It's about 15 years. Because in 5 years, let's say they sign a 5-year deal. Because the Big 12 TV deal that was signed just a little bit ago was, I believe, a 7 or a 6-year deal. 6-year deal. 6-year deal. Okay? If it's a 6-year deal, the Pac-12 signs at whatever number. Congratulations, you're doing all of this over again in 4 years. You're going to be doing the same exact thing in 4 years. If Oregon and Washington, remember, all of the Pac-12 has said we will sign the grant of rights. That is what has been reported. In 4 years, Oregon and Washington want to leave to go to the Big Ten because that's where they want to go. Or even Stanford or Cal, that's where they want to go. In 4 years, because 2 years left, how do we know 2 years is doable? Because Texas and right now Oklahoma are getting out of the Big 12 2 years earlier.
Yeah.
We're not going to play 24 and we're not going to play 25. Remember, that was the whole thing. What's going to end up happening? So you can get out of it 2 years to go. So they sign a 6-year deal. This is just putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound for 4 years. And then it's going to come back again because once Oregon and Washington have the chance to jump to the Big Ten, because that's what they want to do, just like Oklahoma and Texas wanted to leave the Big 12. It is going to happen. So it's just going to be 4 years. So if you are Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, do you want to make sure that you are set? Because those 4 schools, if they join the Big 12, and it's a 16-team league, I think the Big 12 is solid good, and they don't have to worry about it anymore because they will have 16 universities and 16 programs that have all united. How big of a deal right now is Houston joining the Big 12? Houston just set a record for their college football season tickets at over $24,000 or 24,000 season tickets. Like, Houston joining the Big 12 has already paid dividends for Houston's football program and the stands and the atmosphere that they'll have. Almost 24,000 season tickets have been sold because of them joining the Big 12. You add 4 more of those schools, Utah, BYU, that rivalry, Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado back in the fold. Bring back fellow Big 8 member Colorado. They will be locked and no questions asked. You are going to be in great shape if you join the Big 12, because the Big 12 right now is in solid footing. So to me, if that number is not the same as the Big 12, I am not signing that, and I reach out to Brett Yormark and say, what do we got to do? I get on a group text message with the 4 corner schools, all together, the presidents, and I say, hey, our deal is X amount per year. Now, this is if it's 50 million, and maybe a lot of people are wrong, and we here in the Midwest and flyover country have overthought it, and they get 50 million a year, then they can say, you know what? Yeah, let's stay together. We're in a good spot. We're at 50 million. But if it's 37 or lower, I think the 4 corner schools have to get on a Zoom call by themselves and say, hey, let's all contact. Let's shoot Brett Yormark's cell phone a message, have him hop on this Zoom call, and all of us are in this together. If it's stagnant and stays the same at 37 million, I don't think you sign the grant of rights if you are those schools. I think you got to say, I got to look out for myself. You're 37 million. The Big Ten and and the SEC are going to be doling out 80. At least the Big 12 is, that third child who, not as tall and as athletic, but, they try hard. I think the Pac-12, if this is true from what Kirk Schultz has said, that within the month of June, here in about 2 or 3 weeks, they'll know. If we don't know by, honestly, I'll even give it a super tentative deadline. If we don't know by August 1st, they ain't getting a media deal done. But if it's reported that it's only going to be 37, and that's the number, that it's just going to stay put without UCLA and USC because it's not going to increase.
Yeah.
There's no way I sign that. And now Washington and Oregon now become what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now Oregon and Washington, it's almost to me putting it to the, if you wait too long, what's going to end up happening?
Yeah.
I don't sign if it's 37 million. I go.
To me, it just depends on who you are. Like, if you think you have more stable footing somewhere else, or there
won't be more stable footing else. I don't think. Here's the other X factor that I don't know. If you have those 4 corner schools, how much money does it go up if you're the Big 12?
And that's the other question. Does it go up or does it go down? You don't know.
I would think it would go.
I would have to think it goes up too. But you're weighing a lot of pros and cons here. And for me,
what's the con?
The grass is not always greener.
Okay,
that's my overall point. Like,
okay,
for some of these schools in the Pac-12, serious consideration of moving on to where they need to be. For Colorado, the Pac-12 was never right for you. That's my thing with Colorado. The Pac-12 was never right. Like, it may have seemed right at the time. It was never truly right for Colorado. So they need to leave. Oregon and Washington, they're in a position to where they could potentially work with the Big Ten and get something they could like. But that's still so up in the air. For every other school, like, we talk about the 4 corner schools a lot. Outside of Colorado, it's like, yeah, maybe things do get better for you if you're Arizona State, or Utah, if you go to the Big 12. But if I can say stably, I'll get 37 a mil in the Pac-12. We can revisit this down the line. Like,
but you will. You ready? You will revisit it down the line, but it's not going to be as much because at the moment in time, Washington, Oregon get invited to another conference, they will take it. And you're right. The grass isn't always greener sports-wise. But if that grass, which is green, and we know green does matter when it comes to money.
Yeah.
Like Nebraska. Has it really been a better move to the Big Ten? The answer
they get the crap kicked out of them every year.
Emphatically no, but is it better for them?
It's better financially.
Yes. Yes, it is. No question about it. Texas A&M, would you have been a better football team in the Big 12 than in the SEC? Yes. No questions asked. But you're financially better off. Missouri, same situation. Money-wise, Maryland, are you better off being in the Big Ten than in the ACC? Rutgers?
Yeah. You're
better off only money-wise, in my opinion. But money at this point in time is the only thing that matters.
I don't know. I agree. And just if I'm some of those schools, it takes me a hard look if it's what I want to do.
Yeah, I would love to know the number. Like,
I agree. The numbers are fascinating the most.
To me, everybody who is in charge of a university, and you are an athletic director of a Pac-12 school, the number is really, there's only 6 schools that it matters. The 4 corner schools, Oregon and Washington. If that number is 45, they're probably staying for the next 4 years. Sign a 6-year deal. You can always get out of it in 4 years. That to me is the number. What is the number for them to stay? But we kind of know now, according to one of the presidents, and he's been he'll talk. Kirk Schultz, been one of the guys who will actually speak about this. Hopefully have it by July 1st.
Yeah.
We might get that. Coming up next, a little over proper reaction here on Mic'd Up. Overreaction, prop reaction. The A's will have a better record than the Royals at the All-Star break.
At the All-Star break. I did not think that's how you were going to finish that point. I was ready to fire one off. And then you said that. And now you're making me think. Darn you, Jake LaMar. Because the Royals are what, up by a game on the A's? Yeah, in the win column up. A's 17-50, Royals are 18-47. Lord. You know, overreaction.
Okay.
Royals maintain a better record. I don't know if it's by much. I think wins are coming. I tell myself that mainly because it makes me feel better inside. But like Cincinnati, the Reds are a better team than the Royals, but it's not like the Royals can't win one of these games.
Okay.
Like the Angels, we've watched the Royals beat the Angels. They got Detroit. Royals can beat Detroit. We're not going to talk about what's going to happen in Tampa Bay. That's not going to be pretty. That's a 4-game losing streak right there. And then the Royals finally play the Guardians. Arguably the worst offense in baseball. They don't know what hitting is. So I don't know. I think it's close. I think it's an overreaction because I think the A's win streak comes to an end tonight. If the A's beat Tampa Bay, I change everything I've ever said. For the first time ever, I'm putting a caveat on an overreaction. If the A's beat the Rays tonight, I would like to change this to proper, and the Royals will definitely have a worse record. Because if the A's can beat the Rays, then the A's can beat anyone. They could just become the new best team in baseball. Who knows? Might be the greatest thing ever. You just never know. It really frustrates me. I'm venting a little bit here.
It does not frustrate me at all. Like, oh wow, a really bad baseball. That's why I don't get like when they lose. Oh wow, bad baseball team lost. Like, yeah.
I wonder, like, how does that feel, Jake? Does that feel good? Does it feel good not to care?
No, why should I care about a team that honestly doesn't care about winning and losing?
Because it stinks to lose. Losing's not fun.
No, it isn't when it actually matters.
No, overall, losing sucks. Overall.
Oh,
losing
yeah, losing's not any good.
Losing's a bummer.
Yeah, no, losing's not good at all.
Losing stinks. And I hate it. I don't like it. Overreaction, proper reaction. The Nuggets win by 15 plus points tonight.
That's the overreaction. I think the Heat, overreaction.
Do you think they keep it close?
How many threes are they going to make?
15.
It's close. It's close.
I have no reference point for any of these three numbers I put out. I'm just saying them.
Well, they got to get to at least 15. If they don't get to 15, then to me, they don't really have a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
They don't. I'm sorry. Heat, like the last game, they lost 108-95, and they ended up shooting from 3. They made 8 threes. They made 8. That ain't gonna do it, man.
No.
That is not gonna do it. And the fact that, to me, if I'm and maybe there's more pressure on the Nuggets because they want to close it out at home. And man, the party that could happen there in Denver tonight. Maybe ending
it's going to
be
just a cloud over Denver, and it's not going to be smog.
No, you can't make 8 threes. But no, I don't think it'll be. In every win that the Nuggets have had
by double digits
has been by double figures. I just think today will be a little different. I think the Heat, they are scrappy. They fight. They claw.
Yeah.
I'll say that it's closer.
Okay.
Now the final score might be double figures because they'll foul late, and extend it.
You think overall in the flow of the game that we watch, it will be a close game, even if the final score does not indicate that it was close. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it. I get you. I understand.
But I think the Nuggets win. So I don't know if they're going to cover the 8.5.
Yeah, that I don't like that number. I don't like that number. I don't like it.
But just to give you an idea of just how big of a favorite they're minus 375 just to win this game.
Yeah, Vegas thinks it ends tonight.
That's it.
Man, just think about it. We're going to crown an NBA champion and a Stanley Cup champion in back-to-back days.
Well, in all honesty, the Knights should already be celebrating, but they blew that.
It happens.
Woofda.
Listen, it happens. It's annoying, but it happens. I just think we're going to crown 2 new champions back-to-back days.
I know. I
Dan and I are going to be in good moods. Dan's going to be in a much better mood than I'm going to.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, you don't have the investment of
No, it's not. It's
35 years.
Not even close.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
I think technically 6 if we're getting real technicality on it.
Yeah.
Either way, that's fun. It's fun to think about. We're going to run out of playoffs by the end of tomorrow. We're going to have to wait all the way until October. Until we get playoffs again. Unless there's a sport I'm missing.
what playoffs are we getting in October?
The World Series?
Yeah, I don't really care about that.
Well, okay.
My team's not in it. Baseball's a regional sport. I didn't watch a single World Series game last year.
Oh, man, you missed out. There were some fun ones.
Yeah, you got the cheaters, ended up winning, so still not get over that.
You will never get over that a day in your adult life.
Nope. If you are going to keep Barry Bonds out of the Hall of Fame, Carlos Beltran should not be in it. I will die on that hill.
Okay.
They both, technically, we don't know if Bonds cheated, but
we're pretty confident he did something.
I know Carlos Beltran did. I will die on that hill. We'll talk some Royals baseball to finish things up. Yeah. Baseball, you're going the wrong direction. Coming up next, we'll get to some Royals baseball, the lineup, all that coming up here on Mic'd Up. Tonight, 7:10 first pitch, 6:30 pregame coverage. Royals and Reds. Royals will throw out this lineup. Prado leading off. Salvador Perez catching, batting second. Melendez in right, batting third. Bobby Wood Jr. at short, batting fourth. Massey batting fifth, playing second. Thank goodness he's the DH, Edward Olivares. Then you got Michael Garcia batting seventh. Drew Waters batting eighth. And Darian Blanco batting ninth. He is playing left field. Zach Greinke is pitching for the boys in blue. We talked about this a lot, that the Royals right now, whether or not they are at rock bottom, considering they've lost 6 in a row, they're 1 game up on the A's, and it is just a disaster right now. And JJ Picollo, we've talked how much at fault everyone is for this mess. You know, is it the players' fault? Some people say, well, the players need to be better. Well, you can also say that, you know, the people in charge of putting that roster together didn't put the best players on there. So, you know, hey, you know what? I can take a bunch of freshmen and play the varsity team. Are you going to get mad at all my freshmen for not beating the varsity team? No, because they're not good enough. Well, right now, this Royals team is not good enough. The players there are not good enough at this moment on June 2nd or June 12th, 2023. Could they be? That's, you know, the question in JJ Picollo and John Sherman's mind.
That's the $1 million question right there.
And all of this right now, we wouldn't be in this situation. And I hope John Sherman knows this. And he put JJ Picollo in a difficult situation in case, you know, the proverbial stuff did hit the fan. Is even in college athletics, you hire a new coach. It's not as long of a leash as it used to be, where, you know, it was they need 4 years. They need a full recruiting class. Well, we have come to find out in the college world, you can make a turnaround happen in 1 year. Or you can make a turnaround happen in 2 years. Look at K-State basketball and look at K-State basketball and look at KU football. Now, the major is a little different. I understand that. But when John Sherman decided to fire Dayton Moore, and only Dayton Moore, kept JJ Picollo, kept everybody else, like nobody else is left. We had this discussion, you and me and everybody. Is this truly a new era of Royals baseball? And we didn't know, because you still had everybody there except for Dayton Moore. Was Dayton Moore the only one at fault? Everybody else was very good at their job, but Dayton Moore was not good at his job here the last 5 years?
Yeah, that was the question, was did what Dayton do, did it permeate so much that it made other people who could have been doing a good job do a bad job?
And the answer to that question, at least John Sherman, was yes. But when you have people who are still tied to that leadership group, it has fans like myself go, did they really start anew? You have been saying this from the jump street. This is year one of the rebuild.
This is year one of a second rebuild.
Okay. If we were talking about Bob Smith, right? Bob Smith,
What a name,
took over the Royals as the GM, and Bob Smith brought in his assistant to the GM, his scouting director, his whole entire thing. We are not having this discussion right now. We're not having this discussion right now because we all know, starting brand new. I mean, we're talking brand spanking new, new pitching coach.
You scrap
everything.
And that to me is the fascinating part of this entire. It's part of the fascinating part of what the discourse has been, is how much the anger is just entirely because this is happening under not fully fresh new eyes. Like, if everything had played out this way, like, and I mean to a T, the only thing you change is John Sherman hires someone from the outside. But they still sign Ryan Yarborough. They still sign Jordan Lyles. All the wins and losses are the same. Everything to a T is identical to this moment. Are people really less upset just because a different name is attached to it?
I think they're less upset with the Royals organization and the future because it is a brand new name. That means that they would have changed scouting director, GM, coach.
You clean house.
You clean house, right?
And
that's why I do think it would be different, because people would say this: we got to give them another year. We got to see what they can do. Just like you pointed out, got to see what they do here at the draft. Got to see what they got to do here at the trade deadline. But because we know their names,
it's different.
Is just changing a pitching coach and a manager and moving the responsibility around in the front office enough of a complete reset.
And for me, and I will say, I'm not trying to, for anyone out there, I'm not trying to say this combatively. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, you know, it's a problem that this would, like, no, I find it very funny, legitimately funny, that literally if you just didn't have JJ Picollo as the name attached to what's happening, everyone would be like, they'd be upset, but it'd be less upset, like, oh, but he's new. And I'm like, well, just because you know the name, that's such minor details, but I find it very funny. The thing is, with this entire situation, is the Royals may not have just John Sherman may not have went on a firing spree. They overhauled some things. Like,
oh, for sure.
JJ Picollo being moved to in charge, and they did some light restructuring at the front office level. That's where the least amount of change came. But it's because I think front office wise, and maybe I'm wrong for thinking this, I think front office wise was where the least amount of change needed to occur. I think front office wise, you just needed someone with a more modern view in charge, which is what you have. JJ Picollo, maybe when he started as Dayton Moore's right-hand man, viewed more things the way Dayton did. He, in the past few years, has moved much more to the fact that baseball is modern now. The game has changed. And so JJ's done what he can to learn about how to be better, and that's important. What the Royals needed to do, for me more than anything, was they needed to overhaul development and the way they ran things on the player side. And they've done that. They overhauled pitching development. Like, it's more than just, they brought in Brian Sweeney. Like, they brought in Zach Bove. They changed everything top to bottom. They reorganized how everyone communicates with each other in the pitching development system. They completely overhauled how they taught pitching and how they taught players what to do and making personalized plans. I'm not trying to say any of this to scapegoat what's happening. What is happening is patently unacceptable. Like, I want to make that very clear. I am not trying to make an excuse for an 18-47 ball club. They are 18-47, and that is despicable. But they did things to change things. But baseball is frustrating in that it is the, in my opinion, only sport where a year-to-year flip is always the exception, not the rule. We've seen teams go worst to first. That is never the rule. That is always the exception. Baseball, more than any other sport, is the hardest to completely change your fortunes in a single year. Because
the way you have to do that,
it's so dependent on a billion pieces. Like,
the way you do that, though, you can't go worst to first.
You gotta,
but you
need about 80 million things to go right.
You do.
And part of it is you need to bust out a very large checkbook.
Or you need to play in the right division. The Minnesota Twins basically went from worst to first.
It's because the AL Central is the worst division in existence.
So that does. Yeah, you got to be in a really bad division.
You need those things because, like, we've seen it. Other sports, you have one superstar and you can win. You know, in the NFL, you can always just be just a quarterback away. You are never like that in baseball. The Los Angeles Angels have the two best players in the sport. Two of the best players in the sport. I don't want to exclude my guy, Ronald Acuna Jr. out here. The Angels are two of the best players in the sport. They can't even lead their own division.
No.
Like, that to me is always my evidence of, like, baseball's complicated.
Yeah. So, case in point, you can go from worst to first. You just got to be in the right division. The Twins were last in the AL Central in 2021. And then in 2022, they ended up starting to climb up. So, well, we got to get a quick timeout. We'll finish things out with the mic drop coming up. Coming up, and then Royals baseball. This is the game right now. The Reds are just minus 102 to win.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did. Don't know why it's that close.
The Royals are actually, the Royals money line are favored.
Good for them.
Minus 116 to minus 102.
Good for them.
You can get really good odds if you think the Reds are going to win by a run and a half.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
41 to 14 run differential the last 6 games. Pointing that out.
That's not fun.
What do you got for the mic drop?
Vacation rules. I hope all of you get to take a vacation at some point. It's really nice to just get away and vibe. I played golf and I fished the past week. It was awesome. I was really bad at the golf part, but it was a good time.
I'm glad you had a good time.
I had a great time. It's good to be back too. Happy to be back.
I'm going to go with, Trump Tang is just, K-State found their guy. Boy, getting Kaluma, big time get for the Cats. It really, really is. Coming up next, we got 580 Sports Talk. If you missed anything, head to our website, 580wibw.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon. We'll hear from the Chiefs. Also, we'll get to development or evaluation coming up for the Royals.